Oh man, today's episode is packed with a lot of information for the AI market. Companies like Amazon, like Marvell, like Salesforce. We also do have a lot of updates impacting Nvidia. Nvidia did have a conference today and they share a lot of great information that I believe you're not going to want to miss. And just make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as this is going to be the best place you're going to find any semiconductor or AI news. Also, check out the pinned comment for special offer at fool.com/Jose. And my earnings ebook link is down below. Right now, I have a 50% off, no coupon needed. So check that out as well.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so today's episode, we're going to cover a lot, but I want to start off with Amazon. I think Amazon's had some pretty cool updates. The stock was up roughly 1.3%. In the past 5 days, the stock is up roughly 5%. And year to date, Amazon's doing nice, up 42%. So Amazon right now has their AWS event where they talk a lot about obviously their data center solutions, about their AI solutions, and they announced a lot of great things. For a lot of these topics, I think they're so crazy that I might even do more in-depth videos later on, and this is just going to be a top-level overview. But Amazon, first, they did announce a new state-of-the-art foundation model from Amazon. And this is pretty interesting, right? Because Amazon has, in my opinion, not really focused on its foundation model. It's been kind of really more investing in companies like Anthropic. So for them to really announce a foundation model, for those that are not familiar, a foundational model is that what OpenAI does, like with ChatGPT. Google has it with Gemini. And Microsoft has it with, I forget the name of Microsoft. They have another one outside of OpenAI. And obviously, these are like your big foundation, your foundation models that then can be fine-tuned by someone else to create a model of their choosing. So it's pretty interesting to see Amazon going in this direction. And in my opinion, if Amazon is doing this, it's just showcasing that, hey, look, the appetite for foundation models is still pretty strong. And we're going to continue to see investments for the AI space for multiple years, just on foundational models alone. Next, I want to take a closer look at some of the solutions Amazon announced in forms of hardware. So for those that are not familiar, Amazon designs their own ASIC solutions, Trainium and Inferentia, which are chips that are used for artificial intelligence and machine learnings. And they're helping kind of improve this solution. We know all big tech is investing in AI. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, but for me, ASIC solutions are not a bearish case for Nvidia. I believe this market is so huge that both ASIC and typical GPUs from Nvidia are very much needed. So here they did announce 3 unique solutions. They announced the P6, which is instances featuring NVIDIA's latest Blackwell GPUs, which is obviously bullish for NVIDIA, but they also announced 2 Trainium instances, TRN2 instances, which kind of allow there are Trainium solutions, and this has 16 Trainium 2 chips connected together. The next is their Trainium 2 Ultra server, which has 4 of those Trainium 2 servers pre-4, so 16 times 4 equals 64 Trainium 2 chips together, which offers roughly 83.2 floating point 8 petaflops of compute power. So 83.2, I just want you to remember that number because in the GB200 NVL72, which is the new Grace Blackwell 200 with 72 Blackwell GPUs opposed to the 64 that I just mentioned in Trainium, this is almost 10x more power, around 720 petaflops of compute power. So we can see in forms of computational power that NVIDIA solutions are far better than anything these ASIC players have right now. The reason these ASIC players and Amazon players are creating this is because there are certain instances where they can make money out of this or can save in forms of efficiency. The next thing that they mentioned was the Project Rainer, which is being developed alongside Anthropic. And Project Rainer is going to build a cluster of Trainium 2 Ultra servers containing hundreds of thousands of Trainium chips interconnected with their 3rd generation. And they mentioned when completed, it's expected to be the world's largest AI compute cluster. They mentioned that the Trainium 3 will be coming out later next year. But overall, it does seem like Amazon is going in the right direction in this space. So I'll probably do a more in-depth video of this in some other episode, but we can see Amazon is a massive, massive player here. Outside of that, Amazon also did announce kind of solutions with the H200, with the L40S, so many more purchasing of different types of NVIDIA GPUs. They're also introducing a lot of NVIDIA's software solutions within their Amazon SageMaker. So again, more growth opportunity for NVIDIA. And I do believe Amazon is going in the right direction. Now, talking about those ASIC solutions, Marvell Technology just reported earnings, and the stock is up roughly 10.8% after hours, sitting at about $106. So if you've been following this channel, you guys know we are a huge fan of Marvell, so we're all pretty excited. I'll probably be doing a deep dive later on, but pretty much Marvell is jumping because better than expected results and upbeat on earnings forecasts, citing demand for artificial intelligence computing. The main reason is their ASIC custom AI silicon programs are now in volume productions. We were talking just about Amazon's AI chips, and those are the ones in here as well. So Marvell is a big player in that space. So we can see that they're growing in the AI market. And like I mentioned, this is not a one market take all. Well, pretty much it is. NVIDIA is going to take pretty much most of the market, but the market is so big that even crumbs in this market can be a huge benefit for a lot of these other chip companies. And Marvell is a favorite of mine. Next, we're going to take a closer look at a company that unfortunately is not doing so well. Intel was down roughly 6% on the day today. In the past 5 days, the stock is down nearly 10% after the company reported that their CEO is retiring. Now, one thing to know is tomorrow on December 4th, one of Intel's co-CEO is going to be at a kind of analyst event. And obviously, they're going to have a lot of discussions there. So if you are an Intel shareholder, if you want to know what's going to happen to Intel in the upcoming quarters or what's the plan for Intel right now, you're definitely going to want to take a closer look at that event. If not, I will most likely be doing a video about it tomorrow evening. So make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. Now, nothing crazy, but Intel did announce a consumer GPU right now. This is more for the entry-level, very low budget card. Nothing that I would worry about, but just wanted to introduce maybe some small bullish sentiment towards the stock. Now, bringing Intel back to the negative sentiment, AMD did announce a few things, and AMD right now is pretty much flat for the day. Very similar to the same conference that Intel is going to do tomorrow, they did today. And I haven't listened to the conference events yet, but I will most likely be doing that tonight. And I will most likely release a video on this later tomorrow. So they were at the UBS Annual Technology Conference. This is what NVIDIA did today and the one I really listened to, which we're going to discuss later in today's episode. But some pretty cool news for AMD is there are reports that a German retailer, Mind Factory, which sells a lot of CPUs to the consumer space, did notice that AMD dominated in Black Friday sales. They pretty much took off over 90% of the market during Black Friday sales in forms of motherboard sales. The other 10% was Intel. So we can see right now AMD is definitely taking market share with their current generation of CPUs. So definitely some great news for AMD's consumer products. Talking about earnings, Salesforce, where we don't really focus too much on the software side, but maybe we should. Salesforce did report earnings and the stock is up roughly 10.5% after hours. The main reason, Salesforce surges on revenue beat and AI growth prospect. So this is a company that's in the software side and is getting actual revenues from AI. So this overall can go to NVIDIA and say, hey, look, there is an actual return on investment in the AI market right now. So overall, good news for the AI space in general. Next one is one I actually forgot to talk about yesterday, and my apologies because maybe if you would have seen this, I know there's some traders here that probably would have liked it. Obviously, it's a long-term play. This is not something I normally would do, but yesterday we did see that Nvidia invested on a kind of AI infrastructure play called Nibius, ticker NBIS. So yesterday the stock was up like double digits, and today it was up another 13%. So again, this is one of those, if you're a trader, maybe you want to look at it. In the past 5 days, the stock is up 25%. As a long-term trader or a long-term investor or a new investor, this is not something you want to look at right now. But they did get a $700 million investment, not plainly from Nvidia, I believe. I believe 700 million was the overall investment, and some of the investors there were Nvidia. So that's obviously one of the reasons the stock price jumped. Now, we're gonna finish this episode, and I know it's pretty long, but it's a lot of great information here about the AI space. We're gonna finish with NVIDIA. So like I mentioned, NVIDIA today was at a key conference at UBS Global Technology, and there was a lot of great information that I think all investors should know. So I'm gonna just showcase the event for them was about 30 minutes long. Hopefully I can break it down in less than 10 and kind of discuss all the main topics during that conference. And it was by an analyst and Miss Colette, which is the CFO of NVIDIA, the one that does most of the talking during the earnings call. So the first question was, hey, look, are you worried about too much capacity being built out right now? And Colette pretty much mentions that, hey, look, right now they are nowhere near the point where they are seeing any type of slowdown. They are seeing right now that demand continues to be fueled by a lot of size models, the complexity of inferencing, and right now in forms of Blackwell, which will be here this quarter, is also going to be supply constrained until the next fiscal year for the first few quarters. They don't see any slowdown, and they continue to see tremendous demand and interest, particularly for their new architectures coming out. So if you're worried about overcapacity, NVIDIA at the moment is not. Obviously, they're going to say stuff like this. Now, we've talked about rumors yesterday that maybe Blackwell might be seeing some issues. And there were a few kind of questions here, not directly, but if you read between the lines to say, hey, look, what's happening with Blackwell? Colette mentions that when they talk about Blackwell, the chip is done, the chip is fine, and the chip and the work that they have done is moving quite well. Right now, they are standing various amount of configurations. So if there are any errors with Blackwell or any issues, it seems to be things that can be backward reverse engineers. So I really wouldn't be worried about any rumors about Blackwell right now, and I think you shouldn't either. Now, if we take a closer look at annual cadence, so one of the biggest risks that is kind of discussed as well is that NVIDIA is developing so fast that customers might wait up and purchase and say, hey, look, I'm not going to purchase Hopper 200 or the H200 because I'm going to buy Blackwell. Or I might not buy Blackwell because I might buy Blackwell Ultra. Or I might not buy Blackwell Ultra because I might buy Rubin. And what are customers seeing? And this is actually pretty interesting. So right now, they mentioned that, hey, look, it takes time to build data centers. And they believe that they still have at least 5 to 10 years more of work with all the customers that they plan. So obviously, customers talk with NVIDIA and say, hey, look, I'm going to be building data centers for the next few years. So even though every 6 months they're planning what is here and what they're going to build, they're going to need to be ready for the power that's going to come out in the next 6 months after that and the next year after that. So NVIDIA actually going at an annual cadence seems to be good news for these data center players because they get to build infrastructure at the moment with the top level, and they're still building more and more infrastructure that they will be able to invest in the next generation. So I think this is why NVIDIA is able to see so far into the future and understand how much of the demand there is for their AI GPUs. Because like they mentioned, building data center takes time, and you need to really plan that out with all types of suppliers. So I'm pretty sure all the people that are building data centers for the next 5 years right now already have plenty of orders or maybe potential orders lined up for NVIDIA's numerous solutions coming out in the future. And remember, while NVIDIA only tells us about Rubin, most likely their big cloud server provider customers like Microsoft, like Amazon, they know what NVIDIA is going to do after Rubin already, because NVIDIA wants to make sure that everybody knows, especially their customers, know what's going on so everybody can plan accordingly. Then they talked about the networking business and why it was down in this most recent quarter. Colette mentioned that, hey, look, it was some timing issues, but in the upcoming quarters, they will definitely see huge growth here, as they believe that this is going to be a nice growth opportunity for NVIDIA, which makes me very, very bullish. Now, there was another question of affecting the AI market. Now, if not in forms of AI capacity, but more in maybe AI training no longer becoming that important and no longer being a huge scaling law. Colette mentioned that's not something they're seeing. They continue to see a strong scaling law in training, pre-training, post-training, and they are now also seeing huge kind of scaling laws in inferencing, thanks to things like Strawberry and thinking time in forms of these AI models. So overall, that's great news for NVIDIA as well. Next, they kind of want to talk a little bit about kind of any supply constraint. Colette pretty much mentions that, hey, look, most of the supply constraint is just the form of ramp manufacturing and obviously CoWoS. So CoWoS is going to continue to be a supply constraint variable for NVIDIA, but that's not something new. The final thing that I thought was pretty interesting is NVIDIA is expected to be an ultimate cash flow machine. This analyst at UBS actually believes that NVIDIA will have over $100 billion in cash by the end of next year, and that's after doing a $50 billion buyback program. This got me so curious that I'm actually going to do an episode on this later tomorrow or later this week, where I believe NVIDIA, based on this analyst reports, can have more free cash flow than Apple by at least the next 2 years. And I think that's insane. It's going to be the biggest free cash flow maker in the world in forms of public companies. I'm working on that video. I'll showcase the different kind of scenarios in that video, so make sure to stay tuned. But the question was, hey, look, with all this cash, what are you going to do? And Colette kind of gave the best answer. First, they're going to use the thing for research and development, make sure they're focusing on innovation. Next, they're going to focus on mergers and acquisition, if possible. Then they're going to think about any new types of business models that they can enter that will add to their current solutions, that would make their current solutions even better. And after that, they will finally think about investments of return to shareholders via buybacks or dividends. At the end of the day, they're not a fan of excess cash and would rather put their money to work. So they're watching this carefully, and we will see updates in the upcoming quarters. So I do believe we're going to see NVIDIA continue to invent and innovate new market opportunities. That's where they're going to be using a lot of cash, in my opinion. And we're also going to see some merger and acquisitions in the future. So obviously, the conference was pretty good. Like I mentioned, I want to cover this cash position and do a full analysis on this later this week. I'm working on it. It's taking a lot longer than I expected, but I want to provide a lot of great information for you. So I know this video was a lot longer than my normal videos. I think I want to do this style now because I want to cover not just NVIDIA. I want to cover so many different semiconductor companies. And today we learned about Amazon, about Marvell, more about Intel, more about AMD, and obviously NVIDIA updates. For some of these, I will be doing individual videos later on, going more in depth. And if you have any that you recommend, let me know on the comments below. So peace out. And if you want to support the channel, check out the pinned comment for special offer at fool.com/Jose, and 50% right now on my earnings ebook. The link is down below.